maybe now's the time to have that little conversation we had just prior to starting filming, which is because I was talking about possibly changing the pickups in this guitar and whether that would make a difference. But so, in your opinion, there's a point where you're probably just better off upgrading the whole instrument than throwing good money after bad or whatever. I'm not sure what the term would be.
I think on this, I think you wouldn't be throwing it after bad because it's turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
It sounds, if you didn't know that it didn't say Fender on the headstock, then you'd probably be surprised that it wasn't, the genuine thing. In lots of ways, it sounds better than lots of Squires do. You might want to cut that out.
No. We're not protecting anyone here.
And interestingly, as we identified when we took this out, it is made of plywood. And I know for years there was a very famous, they became kind of legendary covers band in this country probably about 10-15 years ago. And the guitar player's main guitar, he swore me to secrecy on it, so I'm not going to say who he is or who they were. But his main guitar, they were, they played kind of Strat style music, and his main guitar was a plywood body Strat. That's what he used all the time. It just sounded so good. And similarly, this sounds really good. So at that point, I think you make the value judgment. It's a cheap guitar. If you're going to upgrade the pickups, then if you buy a new set of US pickups, it's probably going to cost you, 150, 200, 250 quid.
Right, it's been ages since I bought a set of pickups. That's how much they cost.
Depends what you get. If you buy this, quite often on a guitar like this, we change pickups all the time. So we kind of get pickups at all levels. So we get quite a few second-hand pickups that are better than these, but not as expensive as going the whole hog. So on this guitar, I think because it sounds so good, I think you could say, okay, it's worth upgrading. And because what would be your next step if you wanted to change the entire guitar? You'd probably be looking at a Mexican Fender or a second-hand Japanese Fender, or depending on your budget and what you want to spend. So you could spend say up to 150 quid on a second-hand set of pickups on this, and it would be a pretty steaming guitar. Say you even paid for a setup. You paid for a setup that's going to cost you, I don't know, anything between 40 and 80 quid depending on who does it. So say it's 80 quid, 140 quid you spent on the guitar with the setup, you then spend 150 quid, you've spent 300 quid and you'd have a stonking guitar.
So actually that is something for people to consider then.
I think
it makes a big difference, the sound of the pickup. So I think we should actually do that on this guitar then. Let's maybe not today, but let's have as a project. Let's have a look at what the different what pickup choices are. We can talk about that offline or whatever. You would normally change the whole thing. So nearly always when I've done that, when I've changed pickups, I've just changed the whole lot. So I've unscrewed the pick plate, kept everything. In fact, I've got in a box there a few completely done pick plates with different pots and all of that, because it seems to me to be easier than just swapping an individual pickup.
I think, that's absolutely right. I think yes, you can do that. It might, in terms of the economics, it might cost you a bit more to do that, but it makes complete sense because, further down the road, if you decide you are going to change the guitar, what you can do is
have the pickup.
You take the pickups back off, put the original stuff back on, because your upgraded pickups won't be reflected in the ultimate sales price of the guitar, of the guitar. So if you take them off.
So actually you can do that. That actually might be a nice thing to suggest to people, because then if they do decide that they're going to buy another similar style guitar from whatever brand, they're mostly the same, right? If you the one on my Sir guitar and a Fender one are going to be more or less the same. Or are they?
Kind of, in some ways, the less expensive the guitar, the more likelihood that it's going to be a bit of a deviation in some of the fit. So you could run into a problem there.
Right.
But I guess
You just have to try and see, right?
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
And I suppose it might just take a little bit of filing or drilling a new pilot hole for a screw or something.
Yeah.
You know. Okie dokie. So that's it. Well, let's have a pickup swapping session as a different video, I think. But sure, that could be a really interesting upgrade test again.
But again, I think, you know, the thing to bear in mind all along is that it's very easy to get seduced into thinking that, oh, my guitar's going to sound better if I change the pickups, you know, or it's going to make me better. But you know, it's all a bit of.
We've all had that feeling. Yeah.
And I think you need to have a specific goal. You need to have identified the goal, and that's, you know, people that come in the shop. It's really good if someone says, you know, I want to do this because I want to have that, and I know that, you know, this will definitely do it. If they have a definite goal and they're trying to achieve something and what they've got doesn't do it, that makes complete sense. It's the things that, the vagaries are the things that are difficult to deal with, and you can really get, particularly now with the internet, it's very easy to think, oh, you know, got to have one of them.
Yeah. And changing that volume pot with that special capacitor on it or whatever it is. Is it capacitors they put on volumes or whatever? They put it, what's that?
Yeah, on time.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. How much of all of that snake oil do you think? Do you think many people notice a difference on things?
I think there's a definite difference. And if you upgraded, say, the pots and the switch on this, I think in terms of the functionality of the switch, what you'd notice would be wouldn't be as noisy. It would be easier to use.
Yeah.
In terms of its functionality, in terms of what it was actually doing, it still selects between the pickups. The controls, I think the upgrade parts you tend to buy kind of reliability and longevity, whereas the cheaper stuff is cheap because it's cheaply manufactured. Whether it sounds better can be very contentious. You know, this style of Strat pickup with not pole pieces with bar magnets would tend to be a bit kind of, it's a bit of a generalisation, but a bit harder, a bit brasher sounding than the sweet sound that you'll probably get from, you know,
more expensive
pickup.
Do the more expensive pickups still use magnets then? If you buy some Lindy Fralins or
they'll have,
whatever,
but they'll all have pole piece magnets. They'll be made in the original style.
Yeah. Okay. Not the bar magnet.
Although Fralin actually does do some that have got.
Yeah. Generally speaking.
Generally, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, I think it's very easy to start not listening with your ears. You listen with your eyes and what your best mate tells you. You've got to have this.
Yeah.
But you know, it comes back to what I was saying earlier on, that I think music being a, you know, it is a kind of an art form. It starts to sound poncy, I know, but it's down to what you think, what moves you, and what you think, and what works for you. It's not necessarily down to what works for someone else won't necessarily work for you. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. That's some really solid advice there.
But you know, but plainly, you know, we have a shop and we're in the business of selling stuff to people. But what we always try, there's no point, you know, treating something as a, you know, any encounter as a knockout. You know, a knockout kind of fixture. You've got to think of it in the long term. You've got to try and interpret what people are saying to you and give people what they want. You know. But I think it's a really strong position to be in if you know the sound that you want and you can, you know, identify it. That's really good.
So if you're a guitar player, you might want your Strat to sound, would you describe it as far as genres? Like, I really like playing more like Hendrixy sort of pickups, or more Stevie Ray pickups, or more Shadow style, or is that the kind of thing that you...
and I think if you look at the way lots of the manufacturers have gone, they've identified that as well, haven't they? You know, kind of bare knuckle, if you like. Who springs to mind straight away, naming their pickups.
The pickups by kind of artists and tones.
Apache,
and,
you know. Who's that gonna be, you know?
No, absolutely. But that seems to make sense.
It makes complete sense. Yeah.